Western Welding Academy. Where's all my peeps at? How many people are on here right away? 0? We just gotta wait for people to find us? Oh, that sounds so weird. Hey, there's nobody here, so I'm gonna explain this to myself. Now we got 3 people. Hey, I'm gonna do some open root plate. Last time I was here, I did some open root pipe, right? People always ask us, so why do you start on plate instead of pipe? Because this is what pipe looks like when it's flat. Okay, so open root. I got a gap there. Right there. There's an open root, right? Got a gap. Got to grind a flat spot on that guy. Call it a land. Okay, I'm probably going to do a vertical. I'll do a front and back vertical so you can see what the root looks like going in. And then I'm going to do an overhead, and that'll kind of explain why we start on plate and then move to pipe, because pipe literally is all these positions wrapped up into one. Well, I got them all tacked up. Got some tacks in the back there. Should be ready to go. If I'm screaming into the mic, let me know, because I'm trying to talk over a fan. Maybe I'm trying to hear myself. Okay, let's get rolling on this baby. I'm going to tack this up. So something I tell my students all the time, do everything you can to get the obstacles out of the way. So I'm going to put a piece of plate in this clamp, and I'm going to set my plate right here on the edge and tack it down. That way when I'm welding on it, I don't have nothing in my way. There's nothing there to get me in a bind. Okay, Eddie, here we go. This stuff is hot. Whenever you're tacking something up, make sure you got it tacked down good. You don't want it to fall on your head when you're welding. So I'm just using some 60-10. I'm just using some 60-10, some 5P plus. I don't know. I'll get as close to the camera as I can. Right there. Back up. There. See the numbers right there, 60-10, 60,000 tensile, pretty common for a root pass. And then the other one's going to be a 70-18. We use ESOB, H4R. H4R means it can only be out of the oven for 4 hours. 70,000 tensile. All position rods. We're going to be running uphill with the 60-10 on the vertical and uphill with our 70-18. With 60-10 1/8 inch, a good starting point, if you're just running beads on plate, start out with like 90, 95 amps. Run it kind of hot, and then when you see a lot of real bad spatter, start ramping it down from there. It's going to depend on the machine. This ESOB we're using, about 85 amps is a good spot for my 60-10. You get on we've got some Lincolns in the shop that you probably run at 100, 105 for 60-10, so it's going to depend on the machine, but start out a little bit hot with your 60-10. That'll help you learn how to get the rod started. And then when you're running 60-10, you're going to step it, right? So we're going to take a step and then we're going to pause. But you don't need to work it a lot. Like, let that rod do its job. So you pull ahead and you pause, and you pull ahead and you pause, and you only pull ahead about the same diameter as that rod, about an 1/8 inch. So it's a real small step. Hopefully that helps you. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but that's some of the common issues we see. So I'm going to see if I can put a vertical root in one of these, and I'm going to run a vertical root. I'm going to get on the other side so you guys can see that arc blowing through this side. Got a tangle on my stinger here. It's about to get me in a bind. Okay, when you run your plate, tack your plates up. Tack them from the outside in. I don't know if you guys can see real well, but there's a little hole right here. I don't know if you can see it on my tacks. If you run that tack from the inside out, that hole ends up on this edge, and then when you go to tie into it, you have nothing to land on. It just burns that edge away. So put the heavy spot on the outside there. Oh, let's see, I think I got everything I need. Okay, I might be a little rusty after Thanksgiving, so don't make fun of me or nothing.
Okay, so I always push that rod in there really deep. And you know, it depends on the depth. I can drag it in, I can step it in. I tend to want to drag all my stuff. I run my uphill the same way I run my down. You just take your time. You got to let that rod cut that plate out of the way, okay? So you got to let the rod cut the plate out so it can deposit new metal on the back side. If you go too fast, that rod's going to stick real bad. If you go too slow, you'll burn a hole, or you'll get a real big lump on the back side. You need a camera that's closer so you guys can see what I'm seeing. That's the hard part. It's such a visual trade, it's hard to see what I'm seeing. There we go.
Run out. Check out the flash. I guess I don't need my flashlight for this one, huh? Oh, yeah. I think Thanksgiving dinner did me just fine. So that's a root pass. Got a little BB on there. Most of that stuff will fall off. If you know a welder, flashlight's a chipping hammer too. The end of my flashlight's all beat up. See, it's all beat to snot. There's our first root pass. That's that first vertical. Ran it in at 85 amps. Went really nice. I got my media team directing me. I don't know what I'm looking at. We need to put a green light on top of the camera so if I'm off screen, it just flashes green to the direction I need to go.
They look a pair of blinkers.
Huh?
They look a pair of blinkers.
Yeah, a pair of blinkers. Come on with some questions. I like this stuff to be interactive. Like, I can only talk so much about the stuff I know, but I don't know what you're looking for unless you tell me.
Somebody's asking how many years you've been welding for?
20 plus years. I started getting into it kind of in high school, and then I started doing it professionally in like 1998, 99-ish, right around there somewhere. So pushing 25 years. Been doing it a hot minute. So, got that root pass in the back. This is what it should look like from the front. Right there, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it should be real skinny. All of that weld metal needs to be on the back side. That thing is hot. Try to get some light on it. See that little skinny little bead on there, that little root? That's what that should look like putting that root pass in, okay? I'm gonna end up grinding that out. I'll get it all ground out, and that way you can see what it's supposed to look like before you put your hot pass on. So we're gonna do a 60-10 root and then a 70-18 hot pass. But you gotta have it clean for the 70-18, or don't have to. Good, best practices. Best practices, get it clean.
What happened to your finger?
So, we were hunting turkeys one year. My dad we were bow hunting turkeys. My dad drew the bow back, and it was the wrong turkey, so I stuck my hand out to tell him to stop, but he let it go. He let that arrow fly right then, and when that arrow went by, it's one of them broadheads, has the razor edges, sliced it off, right? It's laying out in the middle of the forest somewhere now. I'm sure a turkey got it. Here's something people, we always have to work on with our students. So I used a quarter inch disc. I used a quarter-inch disc to do all my prep work, put my land on, fix the bevel, whatever. That's what a quarter inch is for, all the heavy lifting, okay? You don't use a quarter inch to grind your root out. Some guys might on a pipeline to speed things up, but I've never seen it. It's not very common. Not common in my world anyways. You know, everybody's got their own way of doing things. So that was a quarter. So you got a quarter inch and you got a 1/8. See the difference in them two? One's thicker than the other one. I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, that one's a little thinner. That one's made for cutting that root out, okay? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dropping all my stuff. So, when I go to grind that root, I'm gonna get in there pretty straight, and then I'm gonna turn my grinder a little bit sideways, and I'm gonna cut kind of a U shape in it. And I'll try my best to show you. I'm pretty confident I can make a plate weld last an hour doing this. I did a 6-inch pipe last time, and I thought I'd have it welded out. I didn't even get it finished because between the talking and the showing and questions. Okay.
Watch your eyeballs.
There we go, nice and shiny. So, see how shiny that is? I don't know if you guys can see. There's some little bitty black specks in there. They're called wagon tracks. From that root pass, it leaves a little slag behind. But I don't know if you can see that nice U shape in there, right? It should look like a skateboard ramp in the bottom of there. That's for that 7018 will lay down real nice on that. So what we're gonna do, switch to low high. Zero arc control. We're gonna run that in. We'll run that in about 90. So we're gonna flush that out. Some people do some different stuff. So sometimes they'll stick that rod in the bottom and they'll just kind of drag it up. I don't like doing that because it leaves slag in the sides, right? What I end up doing is I start here and I weave from the top edge, just like a skateboard, top edge down to the bottom, and you climb back up that other wall. It's pretty much straight sideways down to the bottom and back out. So it's going to be an in out, kind of like this as you're climbing. You let that puddle push that rod for you, okay? Whew. I don't usually talk this much when I'm welding. It takes my breath away.
Are you wearing an auto lens?
Yes, I am wearing an auto lens. I wear the Lincoln 24C. It's like a really good pair of sunglasses. I don't know if you can see the inside of that guy. They're really hard to show without taking it apart, but it's all smoky. That's what the front side looks like right there. And that thing should go dark. I don't know if you guys can see inside there. See my cheaters? I got my magnifiers in there. Careful, you're gonna make them sick on TV. Takes a minute to get used to those. When you first wear them, it's like looking through a fishbowl. Okay, here we go, hot pass.
Watch your eyeballs, okay? Notice how I get stood up in here. You know, I don't want to be all bound up like this, where when I'm done with that rod, I get that just a fingertip over here, okay? Something you guys can learn is watch how somebody stands when they do it. Okay, so here we go. So the trick to this hot pass is run hot enough to burn any garbage out, but don't blow a hole in your roof. Okay, the reason they call it a hot pass, and I think there's good. I'm gonna start a debate out there. A lot of people say it's a hot pass because you're supposed to run hot. And while that may be true, I believe it's called a hot pass because if you grind your root clean, you end up with really thin metal, okay? And if it's thin metal that you're welding on top of, it's gonna feel like it's super hot. That's why I think it's called a hot pass. I bet there's some old timers out there though ready to fight about it.
Guaranteed there are. I know somebody's going to say something about that. It's a little bit hot. She was digging hard for me. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. I'm going to go down to 80. I'm going to go down to 85 for my hot pass. I was afraid I was going to burn a hole in that guy. That's how you know when you've made it as a welder. When you're welding and you think, oh man, I messed up on my heat, and you're able to adjust. That's how you know you're starting to figure it out. God dang it. Stupid clamp. There, needed some clean on it. Okay, so when you're welding, you're watching that puddle and you're waiting for it to cut a big hole in there, but you want to find it before you cut that big hole.
You can see a little tornado at the tip of that puddle. Ready? There we go. So there's a lot of times I put my root in, and when I grind my root out, just clean my root out with my grinder, I'll actually turn down from a hot pass. I'll usually turn down about 5. Just my preference, nothing to say that it's right or wrong, but that's the way that I learned, was to grind that root out clean. Then you know you got it all burned out. When you get the welding on like severe cyclic, you know, B31-3 code severe cyclic, where it's super strict, you'd rather grind that stuff out than to have to go in after repair, especially at the root. That's a lot of extra work, a lot of extra money. And honestly, at the end of the day,
It's our job to be efficient. There's a motto out there for construction workers. You're there to work yourself out of a job. You work as hard and fast as you can, so you get off of that job and get on to the next one. Oh, there we go. I hit the door with some slag. I hope it don't burn the place down. Can you all hear me all right with that fan going? Good? I can't even hear me.
eyeballs. I want you guys to know, my whole career welding, I was pretty used to being scrutinized. Like, on certain jobs, you know, it's 100% x-ray, and if they x-ray it, they have to visual it, so 100% of my welds had to be looked at on most jobs. So you get used to people staring at your stuff and picking you apart. You know, you get okay where you're confident you're not going to have any issues, but to be honest with you, when you do it in front of, I don't know how many people are watching this live, or, you know, we have millions of followers, I think, on our socials. It's a little strange when you got that many people looking at you and want to pick you apart like that. It's a little intimidating.
Oh. Scary. It scares me having a million eyeballs on my stuff. Then you get those guys who are like, oh, you guys are just booth babies. Ain't nobody else doing this for you. Ain't nobody else doing it live, that's for sure. They'll post their welds and cut all the good stuff in and show you all the good parts, but they'll never show you when they burn a hole or mess a grind up, or, you know, I got a on me. I'm trying real hard not to leave any porosity behind.
Go get your friends, brothers, sisters, have them come watch. When I started at Western, I started in 2020, October 2020. I've been here 4 years, more than 4 years. And I remember we always used to have to tag the like, share, follow, you know, tell your friends, like when we were still building
Our base.
Woo!
That's a bad. Shoot. We got another battery. Sorry, guys. Check the battery. My bad. Doesn't check the fuel. What an idiot. Is it charged? I just plugged that one in this afternoon. That'll work for now. That'll work for a minute.
I hold.
Okay. Queso. That's nacho cheese, as they say. Make sure this is tight. Try to bring this over and show you. Make sure I don't drop it on my foot. Weld's cracking. Okay, there's that hot pass. So nice and flat. Flushed her out, nice and flat. Okay, that's how I like to do mine. Some guys will do a little hot pass and another fill pass. I don't waste my time with that. That thing is screaming hot. There's my hot pass. That's what the root looks like after a hot pass. All it really does is smooths it out. Sometimes it blows that slag out. You can see a nice smooth spot right there. I think that's where I was getting really hot. I thought I was going to burn a hole. I know everybody's like, how come you're not doing pipe? Just something. It's kind of last minute anyways, but sometimes you got to go back to the basics just to have fun. Plus, when you weld pipe all the time, fun. I'll probably cap that same heat. Okay, so hot pass, something like this, root, back up the wall. Cap's going to be the same thing. I just don't have to push down and get to the bottom. I can pretty much go right straight across and let that puddle kind of push my rod up, okay? You don't want to be you don't have to force that puddle vertically, right? You can end up moving too much going this way, just straight sideways. If you're keeping the correct rod, keeping the correct arc length, you'll automatically move out of the way of the puddle and you'll just get that nice rhythm where you slide sideways and step up about 1/8 of an inch or 3/32 or something. What do I do with my pliers? Lost my pilers, my armrest.
Here we go. Ready? Uh-oh, got a red light in my hood. I think my lens is about to die. Okay, now your cap, the way you adjust the depth or the reinforcement height on your cap is how fast you come across the middle. So you got a little low spot, your hot pass, you slow down a little bit and let that puddle fill up. You got a high spot, you speed up and let that puddle lay down. Okay, so my eyes are kind of right on the back side of my rod. I want to watch that the edges of that puddle about 1/8 of an inch below my rod.
Go. Oh yeah. I'll take that all day long. Okay, and then when we do a restart, when I do my restart, I don't know how you guys can see very well or not, but when I do my restart, fire up, drag it down, I come to one side and I just do a loop right around that back, that last ripple, right there on the back edge. Loop, cut across, and then start my motion. I don't hang out there. I don't do some weird shape. Just fire up, loop, go, okay? Sometimes you hit it just right. Sometimes you don't.
What you don't want to do is long arc when you get down there. That's when you get porosity in them. Keep that arc tight. What I always tell people, keep that rod as close to the puddle as you can possibly get it without touching it. And you stay on the leading edge. You stay on the front edge of that puddle with your rod. So your rod could actually touch the plate. Just don't touch the puddle. In fact, there's a lot of times I'll come to a high spot, just right there I hit one where there's a high spot in my cap or my fill, my hot cap. I'll bounce my rod off that high spot just because I got my arc length the way I want it.
questions? No questions? Nobody? We got anybody on, or are they all still eating Thanksgiving?
Someone was asking about your amps again.
What's that?
Someone was asking about your amps again.
My amps. I'm running, this machine's actually running pretty good at 85 amps. Most is standard, like a standard. An industry standard is somewhere between 80 and 100 most of the time with 6010 and 7018. Start out at 90 is a good spot to start. Move up from there if you need to, down if you need to.
And then what kind of welder are you using?
We're using an ESOP. I don't know what model it is, but it's a ESOP brand. It runs really good. I ran that ESOP. I don't remember. It was a battery one. Volt? I don't remember what it was, but that thing ran freaking awesome. The Volt did. It ran like an old SA200. It was so smooth.
Any tips with striking a rod?
Yes. Oh man, yeah. Don't sneak up on it. When you need to strike an arc, this is probably the hardest one to teach new people, especially people who haven't welded much, because they get nervous, right? They're getting in there and they're all bound up, and they want to just creep on in there and that sucker sticks, right? When you see me strike that rod, I reach up here and I literally scrape it like a mat. Well, some people don't even. I had a kid one time, I said, strike it like a match. He's never lit a match. He didn't know how to do that either, but pretty much strike it like a match. If you're moving forward and you just scrape that off that plate, it'll start up every time. But if you sneak up on there, especially with these inverter machines, it's like a magnet. That thing will fly right to the plate on you. Don't be afraid. Strike it like you mean it. Get after it. You'll be able to refine it, but learn how to get it going, and then you'll be good. So 7018 is a little bit more finicky. Strike it, lift a little bit, and let that arc stabilize. Then as you get to move to your restart, get real close again. 6010, I strike 6010, and I really, really emphasize that long arc at the very beginning to get that arc to really stabilize good. Then you can move back in there and start your weld. So I'll do a restart right here. I'll show you what I mean. That was a good question. That's a good one. I want more questions like that. I about choked on my gum on live. That'd have been dumb.
Okay, ready? So I'm going to strike it like I mean it, but I'm not going to get real wild. Okay, ready? Everybody watching? See, you just take your time. You don't have to go fast. Let that rod do its job, and then you weld over the top of that garbage you left behind. 7018, you can't strike it right where you're going to start. You will leave porosity almost every time there, guaranteed. Okay, I strike mine. Geez, I go a half a mile ahead of my rod usually. I want to make sure that rod is burning good and hot by the time I get to that restart to burn out any defect.
There, one down. Remember, it's not done until you clean it.
That was
Probably wasn't my greatest weld ever, but sure wasn't my worst either. You know, even now I'm always looking to make it better. There's a finished product right there. That's cap. And we've seen the root. Root looks the same. There's the root. Okay, that's vertical. Notice that single weave, that weave on that cap, that weave bead, right on verticals. As long as you leave that weave less than, I think 3 times the diameter of their rod, you can weave it in there. Most places. Look at the procedure; it'll tell you. But okay. Now what? Now I suppose they're going to want to overhead. I don't want to do it. Why is there differences?
Between the welding rods.
It's kind of like, geez, I don't know the analogy to use. They all have a different purpose. Like the coating on 7018 doesn't allow it to dig, doesn't allow it to, it's not very aggressive. So there are places where you have to do it. You can put a root in with 7018, but it is uncommon and it is difficult. So you wouldn't want to use 7018 on your root pass. So they had to create a rod that would dig into that plate really hard, like 6010. So it digs in and puts the root in. That's why there's so many differences, different rods out there. It's just like anything else. You don't use a crescent wrench for a hammer. Not supposed to, right? It's a different tool for the job. So use the right tool for the job. Your root pass is 6010. Fill passes and caps are 7018. You know, then you get into like downhill. All them are kind of like 6010 because of the way they act. But that's why there's different rods.
What's the lowest amp you can start an arc with?
Lowest? Oh man. I don't know. Let's try one. I'm going to go down to 50. Now, he's just saying start an arc, right? I don't know if I can keep it going. I mean, I might be able to keep it going, but it's going to look terrible. Let's go down to 50 and see if we can start an arc on 50. That's the stuff I like. Let's play around a little bit. Okay, here we go. 50 amps with 6010.
Ready? Whoa. Oh yeah, see, you can get her started.
Well, I wish you guys could see it from my point of view. It looks like terrible, but let's go down to see if we can start an arc on 30. Who's that guy who asked that question? I love that. Oh man, whoever asked that question, thank you. That was awesome.
Eyeballs. Oh, we got her going on 30 amps. Doesn't want to keep going though. Oh, I see how to do this.
$30 amps so far. How about 15?
Okay, we're gonna try 15 amps. Oh, we can get one going on 15 too. Barely. It ain't even hot enough to burn the flux off.
We can get an arc started at 15 amps. I'm not going to go any lower than that. I don't think I'll be able to get it done. What was that running those? 85? How hot was I running those out there? 85? I don't remember. I got sidetracked. Okay. Oh my. Break that guy off. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Crap. Sorry, guys. Little detour here. Give me 1 sec. I was going to do something different. I was going to run that from the backside so you guys could see it. I got a mess here. Hang on. I messed up. Actually, I'm just trying to get myself out of an overhead. I don't want to do an overhead today.
You guys don't send enough galaxies for overheads.
There. Okay, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to try. That sucker out of the way.
How do you know what the right speed to go at?
The right speed? That's where you got to learn how to watch that puddle. That puddle tells you everything you need to know. It's a little bit more difficult when you're running a route, which is why we have you learn when we're teaching people, we have you learn how to step it in first, because when you drag it, you don't really know what you're looking for and you don't know how fast you're going. When you step it, you can cut the plate out, cut the gap open a little bit, and when you step back to that puddle, that slows you down just enough. So that's why we have you step the root. That's how you judge your speed there. With 7018, it's literally the size of that puddle. Okay, so if you got your heat right, let's say you're running 90 amps, and you're just cooking along that plate, and them beads are coming out real thin and narrow, real crappy looking, you're probably going too fast. Okay, so the next time you slow way down. So you fire up and you slow down, then you got this big wad, this big puddle that's just wadded up behind you. You're probably going too slow. So what you want to do is get fired up, get that puddle about 3 times the diameter of that rod. You know, if you got an 1/8 inch, you want that, 3/8 would be pretty big, but pretty close, right? And then you just keep that rod on the front edge as you keep that puddle that same size. It's pretty difficult to explain, honestly, unless you see it, but that's how you know. That puddle, you watch that orange spot right behind the rod, that tells you how fast you're going, okay? Okay, let me see if I can do this, yeah. 85? Oh yeah, that's been good. Fall off. I don't know who tacked that up there, but they did a terrible job. It's all crooked. It's more like a 6G plate. Okay. I feel like that's going to fall off on me. There we go. Always get stable. Get where you can get nice and solid. Okay. Let's try.
I don't know if you guys will be able to see anything, but I want to try. And as far as the speed goes, you know, after a while, you just kind of know how fast to go. I don't know, you guys able to see that root going in any? I think I ran that other root in at 90. I'm a little bit cold. Get up here.
I don't know. Hope you got to see some of that anyways. It turned out all right. A little bit cold. Yeah, I'll take it. Hot boot. How about we make some more weld from this side so you can see what happens on that hot pass.
I hold. You guys get real good and you know what you're doing. You should be able to make one of these plate welds from the time you grind it, put your land on, to the time you get done with your stack, it should be about 15 minutes. But that's knowing exactly what you need to be doing at all times. Like you're not thinking about the stuff. And usually you're not grinding your hot pass out and you're welding your wagon track out.
Which is doable. You just run extra hot. I don't recommend it, but if you ever get in a spot where you have to, you can. I'm gonna run the hot pass right there. Kind of got myself in a corner here.
Backed in the corner like a wildcat. Ready? I don't know if you guys can see that root getting really hot. As long as you don't long arc, keep that puddle between your arc and the rod, you'll be all right. But if you try to move too fast and you get that arc out in the middle of your root, you're going to burn a hole. If you pull that rod back and you long arc real bad, it's going to overheat, burn a hole. Whoops, see my pliers slip. And probably a pliers slip, but it didn't really affect me because I'm not really leaning on them. I'm just got my arm resting there or brakes. You don't ever really want to be leaning on anything. Unless maybe your head's on the side of the pipe or something, but
Oh yeah, nice and hot.
What do you recommend for stainless to carbon if someone's struggling with cold rolling it? He said he was going slow building the puddle, but it was being weird.
I heard carbon, stainless what?
Stainless to carbon, what do you
Oh.
recommend? They said that they were cold rolling it, but that they were going slow and building the puddle, but it was acting weird.
I bet you, so stainless is really weird that way. Probably two reasons. One is cleanliness. Depending on where you're at in that pass, let's say when I do a cap on stainless, whether it's stainless to carbon, anytime I'm running stainless wire, right before I cap it, my last fill pass, I get it flushed out where I want it, whatever. Right before I cap it, I take my tiger paw or whatever I have to clean that pipe. Tiger paw, let's call it a tiger paw. I'm not going to say grinder. Tiger paw, polish that thing up one more time. Get the tape off of there, because if you're running stainless, likely you're purging, right? You got to put some backing gas in there. Okay, so you want to get that tape glue off of there. A lot of times what happens is people will put their tape on so they get their good root, and their roots and their fills go really good, and then they get to their cap, and it's like the puddle just dies right at the bottom because they run into that tape glue. So get all that off there, clean it up really good. If you're running slow, it means you're probably running a little cold. Stainless likes the heat. Okay, so think about it more like time instead of heat. So if you're running slow and cold, you're sitting in that same spot, still putting energy down in the same spot over and over and over again. So the slower and colder you go, you actually overheat stainless faster doing that, because you can't get off that heat fast enough to let it heal itself. Okay, so turn the heat up. Turn the heat up where you're walking that cup and that puddle's moving with you, and you don't have to wait. When you have to stop and wait, boom, you're putting more heat in. So turn it up with that stainless.
What's better for welding stainless, MIG or TIG?
It's going to depend on where you're at, but I always prefer TIG. I know they do it with MIG a lot, high production stuff. I think when you get into high purity places, refineries and plants, it's going to be TIG. You're not ever going to see MIG in there.
What rod do you recommend to start stick welding on?
6010 and 7018, either one of those two. 6010 is really easy, although it's a little messy. 7018 is really easy. It's a little bit harder to get started. Heck yeah, those are great questions. I love them. I love the interaction. Makes me happy.
hope everybody out there had a good Thanksgiving. I know I did. I don't think I've ever had a bad weekend or a holiday. I'll get this thing turned around here again. I just wanted to show what it looks like from the backside. Sometimes if you watch things from the inside, you can understand how they work. Plus, I don't suppose you guys can see anything anyways from that arc. I want to know how many people are at home watching me weld with their welding hood on because they're afraid that they're going to get arc flash. Everybody out there, give me a number, shout out. Tell me whether you're using your welding hood or not so you don't get arc flash. You know, safety first, right?
Right, safety first. You wearing your welding hood while I'm welding at home? That'd be weird. I'll flip this around. Oh, yeah. I don't know what I want to do first. Chopsticks? What?
No, do some jobs ask you to run a certain
Oh, yes, definitely. So I prefer my pancake everywhere I go. It's the most comfortable. It seals out all the backlight. It's custom fit, right? But you can't wear a hard hat with it. And a lot of jobs I've been on require hard hats. So some jobs require you to wear a sugar scoop. Some allow you to use your pancake. A lot of pipelines allow you to use your pancakes, some compressor stations. You get in a boiler somewhere where you're really bound up in really tight places. They got them leather. I think they call them a sock hood. I don't know, but it's just a piece of leather with a welding lens in it because your welding hood can't fit in there where you're at. Like there's plenty of different reasons to wear a different hood, but some jobs require the sugar scoop. Some let you have your pancake.
Are you using a cheater lens? And what's your opinion on cheater lenses?
Yes, I am definitely using a cheater lens. My opinion is, as you age, you have to use readers, right? That's all they are, is a set of readers. And I noticed about 7 years ago, I suppose, somewhere, I've always wore glasses anyways, but so I know when my eyes aren't quite right. About 7 years ago, I was really fighting to see what I wanted to see, and I went to a cheater. My opinion, use whatever it takes to make you better.
What's the best thing to do for arc burn, for flash burn?
First of all, don't get it. Wear your safety glasses, wear your goggles, wear your hood. Otherwise, time, really. I've heard of people putting potatoes on their eyes or cucumbers. I think really all that does is cool everything down. It's literally just a sunburn in your eyeballs. 8-10 hours, if you sleep it off, you should be okay, but it's gonna be miserable. If it's really bad, like if you wake up and your eyes are glued shut, which happens, you get some goo on there, go to the doctor, of course. They probably get you something that'll help, but really it's just time. Just sleep it off if you can. Eye drops, get some eye drops. Sometimes Visine helps, but just try to avoid it. After many years though, I'm not even sure I'm capable of it. I think after a while you get used to it. Cucumbers, I heard, cool it down. I'd have a hard time doing cucumbers, not eating them though. There we go.
Eye holes. Come on. There's nothing more satisfying than just welding away with your own thoughts. Think about what you're doing through the day, or when you get real good.
I'm sure that's up there. It'll be done. I just love it. $70.18. Here's something for you guys asking about starting rods. $70.18. Whenever you stop a $70.18, you get that little coating on the end of it there. That'll make it kind of tough to restart. So pull your rod out of your stinger and just tap that guy till you get back down to bare metal, and then it'll fire right up. But with that coating on there, it's a little tough when you're new. When you've been doing it a while, you can stick it in your stinger and pound on it a couple times and it'll go.
Eyeballs? Yeah, I wish you guys could see what I could see. Right now, we might have to work on getting it. We got a GoPro for putting on a weld hood. Maybe we can hook that up somehow. I'll have to get with our technology department and see what they can muster up. That'd be kind of cool if you could see the arc like I see it. It'd be really cool.
Oh yeah. It's a good day to be welding. It's a good day to be alive. How we doing?
Someone's trying to ask. 10 minutes.
Oh really? Oh yeah, I still got a weld left to do.
Where'd you get your hood from?
Oh gosh. I think I buy them on Amazon, but it's fiber metal. I think Honeywell. Honeywell makes them. Honeywell is the brand. I don't know. They've changed. Kimberly-Clark makes Honeywell. Honeywell makes the hood. It's fiber metal, PW110, I think. Super lightweight. They've been around forever. This one's probably 15 years old, actually. No, yeah, it could be. No, I got another one. This one's probably 5 years old. I bet my other one's 15. I had one. That was the first hood I had, was just like this in '97. They've been making them forever. They're super good little hoods. You can't hardly tear them up. And then the add-on was, I'm not going to say who the add-on was because I think they're a competitor. But there's another one called a Cellstrom, I believe. Anyways, you can add the flip up front to it. It's just got a solid box, and I added that flip to it because normally I wouldn't, but when I'm working with students, I got to have my grinding shield all the time. So it's really handy. Or if you're in a pipe rack and you don't want to take a bunch of extra crap up there like a face shield, get your flip up so you don't have to take all your garbage up.
Miller or Lincoln?
Lincoln, all the way. Lincoln gas drives. And I'm going to say ESAB electric wall plug-ins. But I got to go with Lincoln gas drive. They always treated me good. 300D all the way through. I don't know. They're all good. Whatever makes you money, that's the machine I would go with. If my Lincoln broke down, which it never did, but let's pretend that it did, and I was in a bind, I would go get a Miller if I needed to. Funny story though, when I was done welding and I went into inspection, I was on a job site and this young man who had just started welding, had his welding truck there, had a big like Miller Big 40 or whatever one of them old janky Millers were. Great big bastard. Oh, I just cussed. Great big old machine. It broke down, and that's who I sold my Lincoln to when I was done with it, was that kid who had a Miller. So my Lincoln replaced a Miller.
I guess that wasn't that funny, but it's funny to me. Oh, no. Come on. Come on. Somebody's messing with my machine here.
Heck yeah. Something I was thinking about under there. When people hold their stinger, right? That's how you're supposed to hold your stinger. Thumb on the lever, right? Don't hold it like this. That's wrong. Anybody who tells you to hold it like this is wrong. They are absolutely wrong. If you stick a rod, you can't get your hand loose to break it out of the stinger. Okay? This is the right way. Anybody who says otherwise, they don't know what they're talking about. They're probably a booth baby. Oh, I gotta buff that up. Eye holes. See, what are some other things I wish people would do, I think would help them when you're starting out. When you're starting out, everybody wants to grab their hand like this, and that gets you bound up. Don't do that. Should be those two fingers loose, right? That stinger should be loose in your hand, nice and relaxed. Maybe a ring finger or a middle finger, kind of like this right there. That's all you need to stabilize that, okay? You don't need to grab nothing. If you're doing this, you're going to get in a bind. If you're doing this, you're going to get in a bind. Just your fingertips.
Or I guess I grab my lever right there, but it's just the fingertips.
I'm on that one hotter. I'm going to turn that up a little bit.
Here we go. Come on. See, sometimes you got to talk to it, get it going. You say, come on, and it'll go. Yeah, and I've heard some jobs out there paying 45, 50 bucks an hour single hand, which is crazy, because that's what I was making running my welding truck in about 2017, 18, 19-ish. somewhere in that time frame.
Freaking awesome money.
I hope this was fun. I mean, it was fun for me. I hope everybody else enjoyed it. I can't get my feet where I want them. I don't know. DM us. What do you guys want us to weld? What do you want to see? Most of the time when I show up to this, we're like, hey, what have we welded? Oh, geez, I don't remember. We've done some TIG, we've done some stick, we've done some stick pipe. I always want to do stainless, but stainless is so slow, you wouldn't get to see much of it. I guess we could maybe have one welded there and then get welded what we could, I suppose. Tell me what you guys want to see. What are you curious about?
90 amps on a cap is just right for that buckets. Oh, dang. Yeah, check that one out. Ooh, it's gonna be hot. That's how you know you did good. Look at that slag right there. Uh-oh. Hopefully we don't burn it down. That's another way you can tell your speed and your heat. That slag comes off like that. Speed and heat's perfect.
What question you guys got out there? Come on, interact with me a little bit. Oh, see what I did? I got my fingers in front of my hand. Now, luckily, I've dealt with it before. I can kind of get back out of it, but a new person who's kind of locked up, you'd be in a bind. I was just about in a bind there.
Just about screwed. Okay, queso. Queso, that's nacho cheese. Oh, I got that one pretty centered up. There's number 2 right there. Got number 2 done. There's the root on my shoulder. I haven't heard nobody say what they wanted us to do. Oh, real quick, before I forget. Okay, here's why we start you on plate. Okay, when you run 5G pipe, right? Overhead, vertical, flats. Overhead, vertical, flat. So when you're on plate, we start you on flat because it's easiest, right? So top of the pipe's flat, right? We got enough room, right? Top of the pipe's flat. Okay, plate's vertical. Side of the pipe is vertical. And then, give me a minute. It's going to be a tough one here. There we go. Overhead, right? Bottom of the pipe is overhead. Bottom of the pipe is overhead. That's why we start you on plate, because it literally goes through all the positions on pipe. We done? Later, guys. Appreciate it. It was fun. DM us all your stuff. Bye. Love you.